This is serious. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And it's just dust out here. My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Sirāt.
Sirats. Yeah, there's some
That's
rats.
what they were saying when they got stuck in the desert and said, Sirāt.
Sirats. We've probably just offended the entire Muslim community right now.
Well, I hope not.
Apologies for that. But my family is Muslim, so maybe I get a pass. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We also do that with literally every movie title.
We do offend a lot of people,
Yeah,
which is why
equally.
you keep coming back to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
This is the second to last of the best international features that we need to do in order to have covered all best international feature nominees, as well as all best picture. We've covered all best picture nominees. If you are trying to figure out your Oscar ballots right now, there is an hour-long discussion about every single one of those 10 movies right there, which you can hear all of our dulcet tones over.
And then what you should do is listen to every one of those before the Oscars and then email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com, and then you tell us which of our reviews of Oscar-nominated films should win the podcasting Oscar that I just made up right now.
Yeah, well, no, someone said on Twitter that the Topam Best of Years is greater than the Oscars.
Wow. Well, I got to also get onto that once the Oscars are done, and then I got to cut up the party discussion.
Yeah, we got to come up with a vibe thing. Yeah. I wasn't at the party this year.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be listening to.
You'll be listening for the first time.
Yeah. How was the party this year? I didn't.
It was pretty good.
I think I was sick.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I didn't come. I was actually really sick.
But everyone had it was funny. We had a really good time. Even some of our downstairs neighbors came up and did some stuff up here too. So like that was really fun, like just to get them on the pod and all that jazz. So
yeah, so they can know what we're yelling about all
That's
this
right.
time.
That's
yeah.
right.
Thank you everyone who joins us, and so I'll say it now. If you would like to be on our best of the 2025 episode, please email us in onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Standing rules are, please give us your top 10 of the year. Try to stick to a minute or just, thereabouts.
A minute. I will cut you off. And you're only going to get to number 3 out of your 10, and then it's going to be real awkward.
You hear that, listeners? I'm kind of letting you see it's good cop, bad cop. I'm like, speak as long as you want.
No, a minute.
No, but we always love hearing from you. We always want to hear what movies you loved this year. What was your top 10? What were your honorable mentions? What were movies that you wished you saw? We try to do every year a kind of theme for the year, a sort of thinking about like how a reflection of what we thought about for the year of movies. I've kind of actually got my theme, and to be fair with you, Sirāt completely threw that theme out the water right away. But,
interesting. Well, they ran out of water. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's what it was, actually. It was just the search for water. That was my entire theme this year. Marty Supreme was the search for water. One battle after another, the search for water. Sinners, water will melt you. Wicked, water will melt you. Yeah. That's what it was. So again, email us in onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com as Jose did to talk about our It Was Just an Accident episode.
Oh, nice.
Jose writes, long time. I really enjoyed your It Was Just an Accident episode as well as the movie itself. As you all discussed, it works on multiple levels. It's really addicting as a simple thriller, and it only gets better the more you know about the political context it's set in and the reality it was filmed in. I found it fascinating to think about the fact that some of the scenes could have possibly not been scripted, and this question of possibility adds to the value of the story. My most sincere admiration to the whole crew for making this happen and putting the story out in the world. And I am going to stop the email there because the remaining part is really about the final scene in the movie, which is exhilarating, as Jose points out, and has multiple potential reads. So go back and listen to that episode. More importantly, go and see the film. And hopefully in some time, I will respond to this email, Jose, directly about what you've written here. So stay warm. Thanks for writing us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Jose, I'd love to hear your top 10 of the year and where It Was Just an Accident sits in that list.
Send it in.
This was.
Oh, I have one other thing I want to talk about a little bit. A technical thing. I splurged and I had some leftover points on the Evil Empire's Amazon.com site.
Okay.
And so I actually, due to the fact that I was having some color issues getting my PlayStation to play 4K Blu-rays.
Okay.
I got an actual 4K Blu-ray player.
Oh, okay, cool.
I got one.
Like one of, did you there's a site, I forgot what it was called, because my barber was asking me about it, where you can buy region unlocked Blu-ray players.
All 4K players are region unlocked.
Okay.
Which is interesting because all Blu-ray players are not. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Here's what I've learned so far, though, because the PlayStation, which is what I used to watch all the 4K Blu-rays on, only does HDR, only does the not HDR 10, not HDR 10 or something. Like the HDR on like the contrast levels when you're watching like a movie type media, not video games, is bad.
Okay.
Like the balance is off. There's no way to fix it. There's no anything. And I really have been getting into trying to figure out like better, like essentially color grading specs and contrast ratios and things.
Yeah.
And I really wanted every other piece of my equipment was Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, pardon me, was Dolby Vision certified or whatever.
Yeah.
And PlayStation can't do that.
Right.
So I ripped the Band-Aid off and I did it. And after futzing with my colors and contrast for too long, I gotta say, there is a huge damn difference.
Really?
Like it is kind of nuts.
What was the first 4K HDR movie?
Sinners, because we tried. So and how this all came about was we threw Sinners in the PS5 in 4K, and all the darks were like blushed out and it didn't feel right, but the image was super clear. And then as contrast, we just put it on streaming on HBO Max.
Yeah,
and then the colors were super vibrant, but the image obviously because it's compressed is dirty.
Right.
And then when I put the disc in here and after I calibrated all the stuff, like it's everything. It's just like choice. I don't know why the PS5 doesn't work well for this, or like I don't know if it does something different between when it is processing 4K visual information from a movie disc versus actually like renderings from the system.
Because it can do HDR as gaming, right?
It does. Yeah. And it does HDR for the movies as well, but like the balance is super off and you can't adjust it.
Yeah.
Anyway, if other people have had interesting sort of tips or tricks on getting all that dialed in, email us in again at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. I know we have a lot of cinephiles out there and I'm curious to hear what other people's setups are now that I think mine is finally complete and functioning after a few years.
You're like the narrator in Fight Club right now. He says, I got this dialed in. I'm good now, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think for now.
You are Jack's sense of accomplishment.
And then I threw on, because we were watching a lot of like dark shadowy movies.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no. I'm throwing in Barbie.
Okay.
And Barbie and Dolby Vision is awesome.
Really?
It looks so good.
I'm going to have a look here. I know you got the 4K Blu-ray player and this is again because I am the hand-me-down kid. Matt's like my older brother here. I have got Matt's older projector and Matt has bought the new upgrade. So in 5 years time, 5 to 10 years time, I will take that 4K projector off your hand.
You will.
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I bring this up is when I went to go see the IFC, this film at the IFC Center.
Yeah.
And obviously the picture there is great, etc. However, I was like, I think I'm dialing in and like starting to rival a theater experience. Like, I don't think because the light in my apartment is not right for it. There's a whole bunch of other problems, like tertiary problems, but I'm like, I think my equipment, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because the IFC Center, and I actually really like this about them. It was in one of the smaller theaters. I'm sure it was in the same one. Theater 4.
2. Actually, I saw it in theater 2. Yeah.
But like, I really, really love that theater because it feels like, other than like there's 2 large, I believe, screens in there, but like other ones are just like almost, they feel like intimate. There's maybe like 25 seats, like maybe, and the screen is kind of small.
Yeah, it's kind of small, but the reason to see Sirāt in a movie theater is the sound.
Oh yeah.
That's like you could see it on a smaller screen for sure, but you want a large enveloping sound system. And look, I've got a decent sound system.
My sound system's fine.
It's fine. It's like I remember this, we talked about this when I saw Alfonso Cuarón's film Roma. There was a Dolby Atmos certified theater in New York City where you could go see the film. And Atmos was the reason to see that movie in a theater. It's like there's a scene in that movie where a character is drowning in the water and you genuinely feel like you're drowning in water. So the sound system is the reason to see Sirāt. Although I will say, I've thought about, I saw this movie last night and it destroyed me. And I have been texting people back and forth. And like, there's been this like constant, I don't think you should go see this movie. This is not a movie I recommend for you to go see.
Sure.
I immediately, I got home at 1 a.m. and my wife was asking me how the movie was. And I was like, I am fairly confident you should never see this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the same with you. Like there's a lot of people asking me, I do think this is we'll talk about it. I do think this is a phenomenal film, but this is a film that destroyed me in very particular ways, and I was not wholeheartedly going to recommend certain people see this movie.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Before we jump into the movie, though, and just picking off you, the site is 220-electronics.com to buy region-free Blu-ray players. I've been eyeing up a 4K Blu-ray player from there that I'm told is region-free, but it's a region-free DVD, in DVDs and 4K.
Well, you might want to just, if you're going to end up doing it eventually, if anyone's going to do it, if you buy the 4Ks, they're already region-free. Now, here's the question, though. This is what
Blu-rays
I don't know.
are not region-free, though.
I know, but the players, if it's a region-free, this is my question. If the Blu-rays are region locked,
yeah,
but it's in a 4K player that's region free, I don't know.
I don't know.
And the other thing about this player was, for whatever reason, I'm so curious because it's never looked good, but every review said the model I got, there was a Panasonic, said that it actually does native up-resing for Blu-rays and regular DVDs, and apparently it does an insanely good job.
Okay.
And I'm curious what that looks like. So
after this episode, I'm going out there to check out Barbie.
I wanted to go get my Korean region locked DVDs from my storage unit and see if they'd play it again, just to sort of see.
Well, actually, so and listeners, we will get to
Sirāt.
We're not here just talking in specs. We're not the spec talking podcast, but we have a lot to talk about in terms of Sirāt, in terms of its meaning, its philosophy, its certain, I guess, level of cruelty. But I am working on video essays right now, and I pulled out my old region, my Blu-ray player, the one that you can attach to the computer, and I'm starting to rip old movies of mine.
Doing some handbrake?
Yeah, yep, using MKV and handbrake.
Let's go!
And it's really, really fun to actually get back into that. You need a lot of storage space, which luckily, since I have a company, we can do. But man, it is really fun to try and dial in settings for old DVDs.
Yeah.
And I specifically, I'm looking at older movies that I happen to have an old copy of. I bought movies from the UK right now, or I have a couple of DVDs that have come in that are region 3, I think, which I'd never actually touched before. So it's really, really fun to get into that. I'm hesitant on saying that I'm doing video essays just yet, because I have not actually put into effect a full plan to do these. But there are a lot of things happening around here where I'm kind of like, oh, I think I can do this. I think I can work this out if I just put this together. So I'm putting some pieces together, and
Sheer, be wary of the video essay, for you will begin to lack its absence, or you'll begin to miss its absence. What's the thing Morton Joe says about water?
Oh, really?
That's what. Beware! Do not drink too much.
Yeah. And my wife is having a field day with me, because the first topic of the video essay is, shall we say, risque. Anyway, I will talk to you more.
Here's video essay: boobs.
You're not far wrong. You're not. You did not fire the dart too far away from the target.
Be sure to check this. This is not for children box on YouTube. I wish you luck in your video essay endeavors.
Yeah, it might take me a year to actually get the first one out, but but I'm working on stuff. At any rate, this is a film that I'd heard nothing but praise for. Siddhant Hadlanka is actually in the trailer. His pull quote is in the trailer, where he says a film that feels genuinely dangerous to watch. It won the jury prize at Cannes, I believe. And the thing that I kind of was weary of with this, I've not seen any Oliver Lax films before. The thing that I was wary about was people were talking about kind of like an art house Mad Max Fury Road. And I was like, in this way, this path lies madness. I know this is not what this movie is going to be. And I think that quote has come because it is the most easily identifiable marketing tactic you can have for this
movie. I guess because it's cars in the desert.
It's cars in the desert. And it's a beautiful, immersive desertscape with thumping music. And so the Mad Max Fury Road analogy has come up several times with this movie. And I was just very wary of it. I was like, I know that I know in my gut that's not what this movie is. Sure. And I know if I go in thinking I'm going to be getting Mad Max, this is going to be a problem for me. So I went in completely like, I've read that quote. I've seen a couple of images from it. I have not watched the trailer until tonight. But I'm excited to see what this movie is because no less than Thomas Flight, who was on it on our episode recently,
was one of his top number 4 or 3.
And in fact, every guest that I've reached out to about like our current slate of films, all of them talked about, I would love to talk about Sirāt, and it is one of the most interesting films I think we're going to have a conversation about in terms of like how to discuss this movie. Could you tell us what Oliver Lax's film Sirāt?
I sure can, Shahir. The Internet Movie Database says that Sirāt is about a father, accompanied by his son, goes looking for his missing daughter in North Africa.
Sure.
This takes place in Morocco, I believe.
And they're on their way to Mauritania.
Yes.
I think. And I think it was filmed in Morocco in similar places to where they filmed Fury Road, although Fury Road was in Africa, in Southern Africa, maybe. At any rate, I think a more appropriate analogy is a film that we have discussed, not on this podcast, but together on another podcast. Do you know the film I'm talking about?
Sorcerer?
Yeah.
There's some real Sorcerer vibes going on.
I immediately texted friends of mine who love Sorcerer, and I was like, I think you should go see this movie. If you love Sorcerer, you're going to really get a kick out of this movie. But to other friends, I was like, I don't think you should watch this movie because this was genuinely one of the most stress-inducing films I've seen in a movie theater for a long time. I do think it was a genuinely great film, genuinely mesmerizing, hypnotic. It is set in the sort of desert rave scene. Oliver Lax is kind of like really clear to point this out. It's not house music. It is techno electronica music. The very driving bass, I believe.
Who says it was house music?
No, so he just wanted to make clear that it's not house music.
I mean, it's pretty clear it's not house music.
I think just, there's a lump sum of electronica that you could be like, well, it's the Chainsmokers. It's this, it's that. It's not. It is very hard. Hard, deep thumping electronica basses where the sort of, there's almost a sort of LSD vibe to the whole thing. And I can tell you right now, this was a trip I did not want to be on for significant parts of it. I felt physically traumatized watching this movie. I came out of it physically traumatized. I have not stopped thinking about this movie all day today. When we talked about Paul Thomas Anderson's film One Battle After Another this year, I think the thing I said about it is one of the things I love about P.T. Anderson's movies is that you kind of have to wrestle with them. You kind of have to like really maneuver, like figure them out. And one of my, like just sort of lukewarm things about One Battle After Another is that that's a film I don't feel particularly like I have to wrestle with it. I know exactly what that film was trying to do, and I kind of understood exactly what it was setting out to do by the end of it. This is a good example of a movie where I walked out of this going, I actually need to really sit with this movie and think about it for some time and figure out how I feel about it. I was extremely distressed by several scenes in this film, not least of which, I have a child that is a similar age to the young boy in this film, Esteban. And, as the relationship between Sergio Luis Lopez and Esteban is really lovely. Sergio Lopez is, I think most people would have seen him from Guillermo del Toro's film Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
The other film that I really knew him from, recognized from, that I saw in New Zealand was Harry, He's Here to Help, French thriller. So terrific actor in amongst the sea of non-actors and a child. His relationship with Esteban in this film is really heartfelt, and it reminded me a lot of my relationship with my son. One of the things me and my son do that I look forward to every week is we have like a day set aside for what we call shenanigans, where we just
mentioned that.
Where we just go and try and find something dumb to do. And it's like, we'll get in the car, we'll drive an hour to find a dumpling store or a Beyblade store or a park or something. Or
a dumpling Beyblade store.
We have been to a dumpling Beyblade store.
I know that I know. That's why it was my point.
So like that relationship between a father and son, especially at this age, is really core. And this film shook a part of that core in a way that I wasn't ready for it to be shook. But I in no way want to suggest that my physical, reaction and feeling of being traumatized by this film is in any way a detriment to say this is a superb film. This is a film that like literally, had me bolted to my seat and terrified about what was going to happen next. And I'm still wrestling with what the ending is and what the film actually means. But that feeling, in comparison to the one battle after another, just as a loose comparison, is a feeling I actually really, really enjoy thinking about. So yeah, I'm curious what you thought about the movie. I'm wrestling with this one as we speak.
Yeah, no, I'm having trouble thinking through really where to start with this one, because on a technical level, the thing is shot in 16 millimeter. It looks gorgeous. There's a lot of sort of like dangerous things that they filmed doing this movie. I think the most dangerous, I'm ripping this off of one reviewer I saw, but I completely agree, is shooting 16 millimeter in the desert.
Yeah. And if you watch the behind the scenes, they're also in the desert.
Yeah. Like, I think the technical prowess, I think they had 7 weeks to shoot this.
Yeah.
Is off the charts. I think having them be sort of real ravers as opposed to actors, other than Sergei Lopez as Luis, was a very smart move. I think obviously the soundtrack is central. Yeah. I know that
Cannington. What is his name?
The composer?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
have it in front of me, but it's incredible. I listened to it all day today.
Oliver Lux. I've been listening to a lot of interviews with him today. And this whole thing was born off of his like latent, I guess he's been working on this thing for like 12 years or something. It's like born off of his latent, just like love to dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the desert.
Yeah.
And that definitely shines through. I think this is an exquisitely made film. I think, and we'll get into the spoilers sort of after we talk through this section, but the mid film gut punch change happens, and that when that happens, that is when, weirdly, and not that moment. In fact, I think that moment is one of the most horrific things I've seen in a movie in a long time. But from that moment on, the movie started to lose me. And it's not like on an emotional level. It was almost like I was worried. Because the movie started to lose me. I'm like, no, this is exquisitely crafted. It's gonna stick the landing. It's gonna stick the landing for me, whatever this landing is. And I was like, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I don't know how they win me back, but I trust that this movie's gonna win me back. Like I had it. I was like, sort of like your one battle after another thing. I was like, well, I know how that movie's gonna go. Like I have no idea, but this movie is so fucking good so far. It's gonna win me back.
I don't know if it will.
It did not win.
I
have I don't even want to say I have problems with. I just it for me, after that, like when the credits rolled, I felt deflated.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like I'd been taken for a ride that showed me a lot of meaning and promise, and then at the end of it, and listen, I'm fully willing to admit that perhaps I'm not getting something, but at the end of the day, if I'm being attentive, and I was, and if I'm rooting for the film, and I was, I think a movie should not leave you feeling that way. And I just sort of left, and I was like, wow. Like, again, technical craft, soundtrack, cinematography, characters, acting, emotional, spine ripping, like the whole rigmarole is there.
Yeah.
Even deep-seating meaning that I started to do a little bit of research into, but like sort of the metaphysical or the religious aspects of what Sirāt is, right?
Yeah.
It's the tightrope walk line that they use at the beginning
Between
of like
paradise and hell.
Paradise and hell, and if you're worthy, then you make it, and if you don't, then you fall to peril or whatever. And even that, like none of those things actually sunk up with me at the end of the movie. And I was left feeling very conflicted because, like, and it's funny. I would suggest to most of my, even like, unless there was some sort of trauma that I knew someone went through, whatever, I didn't want them to relive, or I'd let them know what was up. I would suggest this movie to almost anyone. But I can't like full-throatedly saying that I liked it. Like, again, I want to be very clear. I think it is exquisitely made.
Yeah.
But there's something, and I'm looking forward to, as we sort of chop it up through it, like trying to find what the reason is that I'm not like, yeah, I like this. Like, and it's not that it's dark, and it's not that it's sad, and it's not that there's not a brutal nihilism sort of to many parts of it, because that's kind of my jam a lot of times. So I was more thrown that it didn't stick the landing for me than I think anything else, because again, how I was so on board for the first half. It bucked me, but I've never trusted a movie to get me back, and then it didn't. And I was like, weird.
The thing that I've been thinking about, in response to what you're saying is the, again, as a parent to a child who is of similar age to the child in this film. Like I was remarking, there's a scene at the beginning when Esteban and Luis are walking up, climbing up a hill. And again, like my mind was drifting, and I was drifting in the right way, which is that I was watching Esteban, the little boy, climb up the hill, and I was like thinking about my son and like how he's at this beautiful age where he is not quite, not quite a teenager, not quite like entering that stage of adulthood, but he is like grown in size. He's bigger. He's very strong now, which is actually really tough. I can't pick him up anymore. Where I have to really put an effort into picking him up. Sure. But he's still a child. Like he's still got baby fat and that sort of thing. So it's like this really beautiful thing. And then like the thing that I'm really thinking about now is that like I'm remembering a line from Spalding Gray, rest in peace, who said something along the lines of like I am holding you closely in my hands, but time is stealing you away from me. And I'm thinking about my son in that respect, which is that time is stealing him away from me right now. And so I really just found the dynamic of the relationship here, this desperate father trying to get his daughter back, who's gone missing, but he's also on a trip with his son as well, really affecting. And then I think we should go into spoilers from this moment forward, because
I agree, but I want to kind of go into that. And as I've been dissecting the reasons why I think this movie didn't work for me in the end, was a lot of sort of like, and I know this is not the point of what I think the movie was going for, but there was a decent amount of narrative promise. For instance, like when they're first at the rave and they're looking for the daughter and they're going around with the pictures, like you kind of make it feels like it's desperate, right? Like he drove into the desert with a minivan, and like he's brought his kid with him to these places that the kid probably shouldn't be. And but because it seems so important that they find this woman, and then one of the main characters who talks to Esteban was basically like, I'm sure you'll find her. Or like, why'd she leave? And she goes, oh, why'd she run away? And he goes, oh, she didn't run away. She grew up. She left home. And he says, I'm sure she'll be happy when we find her. And that's coming from him, not the father. And that whole thing, I was like, oh, there might be something else going on here. There might be something deeper here as to why this person disappeared. And to have that sort of be like, that being a huge plot point as to, and I'm not a father, but like why you're bringing your child to I'll just say a suboptimal situation, not even just the rave, then like following them because, quote, she might be at the next rave. That to me is so like essentially ludicrous. I was like, the plot needs to support this terrible decision. And there's a couple moments in the movie where there's just characters making terrible decisions that, like, again, if it's for plot and story and point, I'm here for it. But it did feel an awful lot like, and again, this is probably going to be the most insulting thing I say to this movie. It felt a lot like when a character does something to move a plot as opposed to what the character would do. In a slasher movie, the person runs up the stairs when they're being chased, or a character that is a scientist in a sci-fi movie does the dumbest, most non-scientific thing you possibly can. Like, I'm being told and shown one thing, and then characters are doing another. And it felt more jarring here because of how exquisite everything else was around it.
I guess I didn't butt up against that as a conceit because parents, I'm not speaking for all parents, I'm speaking for me, specifically, desire to protect their children at all costs, outweighs a lot of things. So,
but I feel like he did, like, and again, we'll get into sort of the why, but like he didn't protect Esteban because he was looking for this other person. And I was like, well,
his other daughter.
I know, his other daughter.
His other child.
But listen, but there's two children. Yeah. You imagine you love them both the same. And if you don't, which again, I don't know characters, whatever, but like my point is like, I want to know why it's so important to find the daughter that he's putting his son in danger. Like, and we don't get that.
I think there's two things here that I would two maybe three things. One, the first is kind of the preamble here, which is that I think if we look at the overall structure of the film, having seen it once, and there's a Justin Chang review which says you should watch this film twice, and I was like, I'm sorry, Justin, not anytime soon. I will. I trust you. I get what you're saying, but not right now. But now that I have seen the overall picture of what the film is, and that's the hard thing here, is that the beginning half of the film, before like the nexus point where something awful happens, suggests one movie, and then the second half of the film kind of makes you realize that was not the movie that they were really interested in to begin with. The overall structure of the film is far more, I guess, metaphysically inclined than it is narratively. Like trying to close a loop here on the daughter. And again, we're going to go into spoilers now at this point forward. But absolutely, you should go see this film. Maybe if you're a parent, just be prepared for what this film is.
And I just with all my criticism, I agree.
Yeah.
I think you should. I think this movie is incredibly. It is definitely worthy, if not the high ranking one for me to win Best International. But I also don't know if I like it.
I'll say this. This is, I think, because we're coming up to the end of 2025. This is the film I'm most interested in having a conversation about.
Sure.
With anyone.
Actually, I take that back. I don't want this. I don't think this should win, but I think it should be not. It makes total sense that it is nominated.
Sure. So coming back to those one or two things. So the one thing is the framing of what the actual film is versus what we think it is, which is the first half, as you say, kind of like suggests that there is this like narratively driven conceit of finding the daughter. And what we realize by the nexus of the film is that is not the case, that this film is actually interested in at all. In fact, the loop of that plot will never get closed by this movie.
But like, you would agree though, right? Like it sets you up in that first half to believe, like
100%, 100%. Yeah. But what I'm saying, now that you've seen the film in its totality, you can appreciate that on a second viewing, you'd be like, this is actually not what the film's interested in.
Sure. I just think, but like that, just because this is a weird thing. Just because I know now the film is not interested in that doesn't mean that all of the care that the film does to make me interested in it isn't going to make me interested in it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it did the work.
Yeah.
And I understand the rug pull. Like that was the point, but I don't think that works for me.
Okay. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
But again,
And then the second thing is in terms of like, Luis, is it Luis? Is Sergio his character? As far as the danger element goes, I kind of putting it akin to my shenanigans thing, which is that, you're going on it's at least danger more than an adventure, which you can do with your kids as well. So I would kind of categorize it that way. And then there's a little bit of like, he's in over his head when he realizes, when at some point they end up in the desert and it's like, we are in a minivan with people with larger trucks but we cannot turn back now.
Which again, just is so like, again, rave adventure, everything past that danger.
But also remember the surrounding context of what's going on in the world of this movie, which is that there is some kind of failure of society writ large happening around them.
Yes. But also,
I would actually take that factor, the fact that the military come in and pull these people out and that they escape out of there. And we hear several reports during the tons
of bad stuff going on, which I thought was very good. That's something I love too. Like, I'm not interested in that conflict. I just know the conflict is there.
But also that there is a sense of calamity to the world outside this particular search. So that might be driving his need to get to his daughter, is that there is a sort of disintegration of the world around them that requires him means he wants to go there. And that's how I read it. And that's how I kind of like squared away. And again, I didn't butt up against the putting your kid in danger. Like the thing, like a good example of this is the crossing the river. So at some point in the middle point of the film,
when it goes full sorcerer.
Yeah. Luis and Esteban are following in this minivan. They are told by these 4 or 5 other ravers that there is this other dance party happening in the desert and they're going to drive out to it. but they are in much bigger, larger equipped trucks. And he is in this minivan. By the way, big year for minivans this year between this and It Was Just an Accident. A lot of stuff happening in minivans.
I guess that's a full van.
The minivan?
Sorry, every one of these movies
is just an accident?
Yeah. Everyone is like.
I thought that was a minivan as well.
No, they had double doors in the back.
Anyway.
Minivans normally have the hatch.
Little hatch. Okay, fair enough. They break away from the military imposed, like a caravan that they were in. They race off into the desert, and he is kind of in over his head. And he is told several times over at this point, we are going into the desert here. I don't know if this car is going to survive. And he's like, I'm kind of committed to the bit right now. Also, the world is falling apart around them. You can't get gasoline anywhere.
Well, yes, you can. You just buy it. He had money.
Yeah, but from a guy off the side of the road.
They still did it.
But do you remember when they went to the gas station? And
they didn't. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But my point is like the gas thing was fine. Like it wasn't bad or good. I was like, oh, that was convenient. Like, oh, they can't stop here. But now they ran into these donkeys with stuff. And Luis has money. Cool.
Well, that's what he is adding himself to the caravan, but that is what he provides because they don't have money.
Yeah.
And he does.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
But I guess that was it was more showing Luis's utility to them as opposed to anything else.
Well, and then the thing that I became concerned about is like, these guys are really going into the desert now.
Yeah.
Into uncharted territory, which is what happens when they do run out of gasoline. Like what happens in that scenario. And so there's a situation in which they come across a river. The two larger trucks just kind of like barrel through the middle of the river. And there's a moment of panic when when Luis realizes that he cannot cross the river on his own. And now they are stuck. He doesn't even know where they are. He doesn't know how to get back from where they are. They are literally in uncharted waters.
And I think this is what you've just said. I think hits the nail on the head because yes, the world is going to hell, and there might be external reasons, but like I think what gets me is like even in those situations, it feels like a father should know where he is or be tracking it or something.
You would think a father would know these things, right?
But I'm saying like if you're doing it and you're taking your child into this space.
But he didn't.
Like
he didn't.
I know. Which then leads me like it's running up the stairs away from the fucking killer in a house. Like it's just like okay.
There's certainly an argument to be made that the movie deliberately leaves out backstory here, and correct decision making to move the plot forward. Like, and that's fine. I never like when they're at the river. My anxiety wasn't about like you're putting your son in danger. My anxiety at this point is without those people in front of you, without the caravan in front of you, you're going to die out.
But isn't that putting your son in danger?
Yes, yeah. but in order to survive, but in order to survive, you need to continue with those people, right? Like you can't turn back because you got nowhere to go.
Right, but he's stuck at the whim of these things, and therefore he's put both him and his son in mortal danger.
I mean, he doesn't know how far this rave is.
I know.
Like this is a world of his daughter. He doesn't really understand.
I know.
And they continually say to him, like, you can't be here. And he's like, what do you want me to do? This is what I have. This is the truck I have.
So like, I'm not going to harp on this stuff too much because I thought as the movie was going on, I'm like, it's okay that all this stuff isn't connecting from a plot perspective or people were making bad decisions because there's going to be like the meaning of it. There's going to be the metatextual or religious or whatever connotation to it. Yeah. And I was like, that's why I kept being like, you know what? Sure.
I would venture to guess that anyone's been on a hike, like long hiking with their kids and stuff, like is ultimately you're calculating risk as you go. But I would not, watching this film, I didn't think that what Luis was doing was so far detrimental to where it went. I think he had a singular goal, which was to get his other child back. Like,
yeah, and he put his other kid in risk doing it.
Yeah. Hey, and then the film goes into full sorcerer territory. William Friedkin's film Sorcerer, which we've talked about on this podcast. We talked about on the Taste of Time podcast.
That's right. Not on this podcast.
Not on this podcast. It is one of the most astounding films I've ever seen committed to screen. Like truly, if you want to watch a movie and go, how the hell did they do that? That is the movie. Like there are moments in Sorcerer where you're like, I don't know how these people didn't get killed making this movie. And in fact, to the extent where there's a couple of scenes in Sirāt that kind of feel like Sorcerer, yes. But I was like, man, the technology has changed in such a way since, like 1977, since that film came out.
What was that shot on? What was Sorcerer shot on?
35 million. Yeah, I'm guessing something like that. It was shot in the Dominican Republic. The point is that like Sirāt feels safe compared to Sorcerer in many ways. Like there are scenes in the way that we understand technology and the way we understand visual effects and that sort of thing go, where I go, man, Sirāt actually feels a lot safer than what Sorcerer is doing. At any rate, again, we're in full-blown spoiler territory here, but the most horrific thing happens, which is, and I'll tell the full details here, because it has like kept me up at night. I have actually only gotten a few hours sleep because of this movie. And then I spent the whole day thinking about this movie. I got to tell you, I actually walked to work today because it's been one of the first nice days. And I put on the music from the film, and I actually just like burst out crying. Like I actually just started crying. The worst possible scenario for a dad it happens in this film, which is that they are going up a hill that is like precipitously precarious, with a cliff on either side, and it's a genuinely breathtaking landscape. You're like, where is this road, and how do they actually even film up here? How did this all work? And one of their tires gets stuck, and they spend a lot of time trying to get one of these tires to like move forward. There's rain overnight, and out of nowhere, Esteban is in the car with his dog Peppa, while everyone else is trying to get
Peppa,
I think it was. While everyone is trying to get this tire, roll free from this like pothole that they've run over. They finally get it rolled over, and they turn, and the handbrake has been released on Esteban's car, where Esteban and Pippa are in, and the car starts rolling backwards. And at this point, you're going, "Oh no, they're going to have to figure out, they're going to have to run and save that car." But no. And I kid you not, this is the moment I grabbed hold of the side of my chair and didn't let go for the rest of the movie. Was that van with Esteban in it falls down a cliffside. And that,
and the dog.
And for, someone who's been watching the movie thinking about their own child, this is one of the most horrific things I think I've ever seen. The transference, like at that point, my brain changes direction, like of this entire experience. Like my whole thinking now is, Louis, cannot live with this guilt, cannot.
Yeah, he told him to go back and wait in the van.
Yeah, no, but this is actually this is. Other parents have told me this, and I have heard of a case of this happening. And by the way, I'm not suggesting what I'm about to talk about in any way is an endorsement of this idea of this or anything. But like, I have friends who have said, if their children die, they would die. So my brain was there with Louis at that point. Was like the rest of this journey is unsalvageable. Like he has, the worst thing that could possibly have happened. And so my break with like the narrative about the sister and everything has already happened. I am now in a place of like deep fear and anxiety and terror. Oh, I got to tell you this other thing. It also brought up this memory that I had like kind of forgotten about. But when I was a kid in Fiji, we had a minivan like this one. And my brother, we would drive, you would drive from Suva to Nandi, which is like a 3-4 hour drive through like winding roads. Mm-hmm. Not like this, but like, just roads. And one of my earliest sort of memories is I was in the back of the van, and before I woke up, I was asleep in the back of the van, and I woke up being spun around in the van because the van had gone off of a cliff.
Oh no!
And we had flipped upside down and were tumbling down a hill. And I remember I was asleep. So when I woke up, I was like, "Oh, the road's too rough. We've got to get off." And we tumbled down a hill, and then when I came to, I sort of looked, and there was a smashed windshield. So it was kind of, this movie brought all of that back.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily we had no injuries. Everyone was safe. We were, you know, like someone came and helped us, so we were, you know, and we were close to a gas station. You know what I mean? It wasn't like this. So the film kind of like the sort of like survival mode, and then the metaphysical of like, how do you persist in the wake of death, and how do you deal with death, and also I as a viewer was watching and thinking about all the, you know, like all the things that I could have done differently in that scenario, you know, like with the handbrake, with the car, with the kid, with like, you know, like I was like, I was just not, you know, the story, the machinations of the story of the film before this had just gone out the window.
Sure.
And that's the place that I lived in for the rest of the movie.
Oh, same.
And then they, you know, like through kind of like a sort of wandering out in the desert, they end up in a field where they decide to take some peyote or LSD or something like that.
It's a good plant.
It is a good plant. And they decide to listen, you know, to the ravers kind of do what they do. And Lewis has no anchor at this point. So he's kind of just floating between this idea. And, you know, the music is also a connection to his daughter, who is lost as well, because this is the world that she lives in. So he is kind of thinking about that. And they start dancing, and it is hypnotic. It's beautiful. It's like there is an ecstasy to it, because it is like this release of, you know, guilt, shame, whatever. And one of the women, you know, like turns around and says, "Turn the volume up, blow it up," and then proceeds to step on a landmine. And I got, again, gripping the side of the seats at this moment. And the sort of final act of the movie is these characters in a landmine, for which
in a minefield,
in a minefield, where for me the sort of the meaning started to become about the inescapable nature of death, and that death is all around, and it is also not compatible with like our common sense of morality. It doesn't. These people aren't bad people that got, you know, hit with a bomb, you know, that stepped on a landmine or anything. It is purely random, by chance, and you know, the only way forward for Lewis at the end of it was, you know, he says, he just kind of walks a line and says, "I didn't think about it," and that was it. And I found that, I'm like you, which is that I am struggling to kind of piece together the whole thing, but I was with it. I was with the end of the movie, and I was there with this train journey that they kind of end up on, because then at some point there, you also realize the greater context of this movie, which is the world collapsing, and, you know, a train of, you know, these people ultimately become stateless, back, you know, like with no identity whatsoever. They just become one of a million faces on a train that is heading to where we don't know.
Yeah, I think again, me, and putting moral judgments on written characters, that's not neither sort of here nor there. But like, in order for me to connect with what's going on, I need to. I don't even know how to put this. You're talking about like, I think that's what the movie's trying to say, right? I think it's like, oh, death's all around you. You never know. It's not conducive to just living your life. It could happen at any time, and that's all very true. Like, I think from the metaphysical and the sort of the spiritual nature of this film, that is 100% correct. But the fact that the movie lived in not that for the first half still makes me, I mean, this sounds, I hope not terrible, but like, still judge the characters on that methodology. Like, yep, the world is tanking. The world is going to shit. Right. My guess, like all, and again, no idea, but there's tons of people on that train at the end. There's no other, like, if they hadn't gone with these people, they might have still ended up on that train. Like, they've these characters, because for whatever reasons, have put themselves in these precarious positions. They've done that. They've driven deep into the desert. They've their equipment has malfunctioned. People have died. they end up in a minefield, and then a lot of people die there. Like, and the first idea of like, yeah, death is not compatible with this, and this is it is a complete, like, life is a minefield. That makes sense on one angle, but the fact that the movie wasn't dealing with that angle to start, and like, I'm not saying this is not me saying I want more context of the world.
Yeah,
I don't. I think from a narrative structure, that works quite nicely, because that's not what I'm interested in. I have tons of other movies to watch if I want to look at end of the world stories. But nowhere did it like nail down that like it still felt like in a terrible situation, they were just kept making the worst possible decisions. And that to me I just have a hard time locking in, to the point where, like, when they're on the train with all the other people, I got real 2012 vibes. I got the film 2012, not the
disaster film?
The disaster film.
Okay.
Because that movie is about a bunch of people fighting, like a father fighting tooth and nail to get to his son during a cataclysmic climate changing.
You're talking about the Roland Emmerich film.
Yeah, I am.
2012.
I am.
Okay.
And they fight wolves on a frozen ship. They do all this shit, right?
Yeah.
And then they finally get there, and he gets to his son, and oh my God, there's a reunion. And then at that very moment, helicopters from the father's team come in and land. And you're like, so you just went on this thing and got like 5 people killed, and you saw your son 3 minutes earlier. If you had just waited, listen, I'm doing some Monday morning quarterbacking here.
I was going to say, you're also like judging these decisions in a post context.
I am, but right? but it's a pre-context too. I go back to, and again, I'm not a parent, but I've been in dangerous situations with people that I care about.
Yeah. And
the only thing you can do is try to plan as best you can if you have to do certain things to get through them. And to be perfectly honest, Luis's character, with his son Esteban in tow, did, at least what the film showed us, almost nothing to like prepare or help for that. Like, they're going to look for the daughter, like that's important, but we never know exactly why or how that's important. The kid's saying it's not really even that big of a deal in a weird way. Like, oh, she left home, but she'll be happy to see us. And you're like, that's a hint to something, because there's no way any person in their right mind would be doing this if that was the story.
Huh. That's fascinating that you said, like, so you're saying because the kid says she just left, that the father would be like, okay, I'm going to let it go.
No. Because remember, he's talking to one of the ravers. The kid's talking to one of the ravers. Because my question was, I wonder did she run away? Did whatever? Yeah. And the fact that the kid, the 10-year-old, 11-year-old, whatever, however old Esteban is, says like, oh no, she just grew up and she's going to be happy to see us. That to me clocks, no, she's not. That's what the kid believes. Because even the way that the raver, I wish I could remember the characters' names. I'm so sorry. Because again, they're awesome. Yeah. They are so good in this movie for a bunch of actors, non-actors acting. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
But she looks at him like, oh, like there's a moment of like, oh, this is the story the kid's been told. And that to me, I was like, oh, that sort of puts more of a thing on here. There's some importance to why they're doing this. There's a real fucking drive. And maybe there is. I don't know.
I guess I saw the drive, like when she says that, there's a shot of Luis standing by the water looking out into the distance, with a sense of longing for presumably his daughter and the journey that he's on.
But anyway,
like
going back to sort of the ending of it, and the reason why I was brought up to this thing is like, unless there is and maybe there's a cultural element of the Islamic belief of Sirāt or the
we should
mythology.
Actually say what the meaning
I
is.
actually have it pulled up.
Yeah, which is that.
So essentially, it is the Sirāt in Islam is an Islamic concept of which in doomsday people will walk in a thin line that is as thin as a strand of hair. Which is explained in the first scene. People will walk over it, and good people who did good deeds in life will pass over it easily to the other side, heaven, and bad people will fall off it into hell. And that's basically.
I think I the good and bad dichotomy was it's not mentioned in the
No,
in the
but that's
film.
what I'm
But
definition I'm reading. I
in the
could be wrong.
definition that they use in the film is the bridge between heaven and hell, which is thinner than a strand of hair and sharper than a sword.
Yeah.
Which means it is deadly.
Email us in at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com if we are completely butchering this Islamic concept and you know about it, because this is my point. Maybe because I am not familiar enough with this, that's why it doesn't work. Because instantly when I was like trying to dive in a little bit deeper to that, I was like, well, it kind of falls apart because the kid died. The kid didn't do anything wrong.
And I think trying to apply a schematic to this is a path to madness in this movie, because I think that is not how this movie that is not how this movie operates.
But that's I need some sort of like the movie, and again, I feel so bad because I think it's very well made
film, and it's great that we can have a conversation about it.
I think because it's so good in so many elements, I'm expecting something greater from it than just like this will sound more dismissive than it should, but I don't have the right words. More than just vibes. Like there's such eloquence and beauty and horror and craft at play here. And I feel like it doesn't stick the landing, nor am I sure what that landing was even trying to be.
Yeah, and I think I am I guess more on the page of the moment in the middle of the film is so traumatic. It's so traumatic.
It the whole theater just is like, what the fuck?
That the rules that we set upon the movie go out the window, and I am willing to go wherever this movie is going at this point. And I want to.
And I was like, that was my thing.
I
that's kind of how I described it to you. I was like, I trust this is going somewhere.
I mean, the entire Lewis in the, again, coming back to the trauma that he has just witnessed, which is amongst the worst things I think you could see. The choice to walk across the desert makes 100% sense to me. And the choice to walk into the landmines makes 100% sense to me as well. Like, he's just like,
sure, but that's not the end of the movie.
The end of the movie is them on, they're on a journey to, we don't know where and we don't know what. And, I wanted to frame this with a sort of thing that I've been thinking about, in respect to both, Sorcerer plays this way as well. Sorcerer, the good people die randomly in that film, things, the entire premise of that film is hinged upon almost like a landmine, that anything can explode, glycerin can explode, this at any turn, and it does, randomly at any corner. But I was thinking about this conceit, and I phrased it this way and then started looking up other academics that had come up with this idea, long before me and written books about it, but the cinema of cruelty and the idea of movies that don't adhere to what I had called in the past the morality clause that movies kind of sign when they come in, when you go to watch them. So we talked about this in relation to a film like Halloween, where, Michael Myers is really only going to kill people who kind of are at the moral spectrum opposite the movie. It's
they're making out when they should be watching kids.
Exactly. Yeah. People, there's a sort of unspoken morality clause to most movies.
They deserve it.
And then there are sort of in the sort of spectrum of the cinema of cruelty, Andre Bazin wrote a book. It was a collection of essays that Francois Truffaut collected together, which I think kind of gets at this because he mentions Louis Buñuel's film and Chien Andalou and Psycho, which are movies that purposefully, even Psycho, which is a very commercial film, break that clause very knowingly and, really understand what is happening when we decide not to go in that direction, which means that anything can happen at this point. And, another filmmaker I thought about in this respect that I think Oliver Lax probably is admiring of is Gaspar Noé. And I don't know if you saw his film Climax.
No.
Climax, I watched, and Climax operates in the same way as this, which is that there is a sort of randomness to death in amongst the dance party, by the way, which involves LSD, that is cruel and purposely cruel. And on one spectrum, you've got the sort of purposely cruel and metaphysical, like Gaspar Noé does, a film like Irreversible ponders the existence of what time can do to a person. And Climax also ponders like what happens when our minds loses our ability to rationale for themselves, and we destroy essentially our own bodies. And you, on the one hand, you've got that kind of cruelty. On the other hand, the other example I sort of think about is like Rob Zombie and his film The Devil's Rejects, which is a film I saw in a theater, and I was like, I don't like this movie because it really glorifies. It's really on the side of these people that are just terrible monsters. And I don't enjoy that thing. But I think in the thinking about that spectrum of cruelty in cinema is where you should kind of think about this, like placing this film, and not within the context of something like 2012 or Independence Day, or, you know, like any movie which
has
2012, you know, that has that sort of like good versus evil. We are making sense of order of the world.
Well, it's less good versus evil, I think. And it's more, I go back to like, it's less of a moral judgment and more of just a regular judgment. Like I
understand where you're coming from as well, which is that the ending is confounding. And but
it doesn't, the ending for me, and again, I could very well be missing something, did not speak to the themes that the rest of the movie had. Like it just, you know, like, and it's not that I want, like, he finds his daughter. Like, I knew they were never gonna find a fucking daughter. Or like, I don't even know what, like, because it takes you on such a weird loop, I don't even know what the way that they could do this that would then make it work for me is. I just know that shots of this train track with 100 other people that we've never seen before. Also, the dog wasn't there. Not Pip, not the boy's dog, but they had another dog, and that dog made it. Where was that dog? Hopefully on that train somewhere. But like I this is one, I really do wish that scheduling worked out differently and that I could sort of sit with this for like 48, 72 hours. Again, I saw this morning. And perhaps, and then I came home and I listened to a bunch of interviews and with the director, and I read a bunch of reviews, because there's not a lot of video reviews out for this of places that I would posit, unless people actually email us in onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com if you have a good somewhere video essay or review of Sirāt. I feel like I even did more like, I don't know if I'll call it research, but a couple hours when I should have been doing my regular job of like looking into this movie, right?
And that there is kind of the thing that I walk away from, which is that I'm also with you in that I was confounded by the ending and I didn't know what to make of it, and I wasn't really certain of how this all came together as a piece.
But I think it ruined it for me. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think it ruined it for you.
It didn't ruin it for me. And you know, remember we're talking back about Paul Thomas Anderson. I also felt that way a little bit about There Will Be Blood when I saw that for the first time. At the end of that, I was like, I don't know what this is. And I don't know what direction this film has decided to go in its last act. And then it was like, but the thing about it is, and I think this is something that Oliver Lax kind of talks about as well, is that he talks about this idea that the images that he tries very hard to retain the power of the images that he sees in his head when he was writing this, when he was coming up with the film, as images, not as like written screenplay, which, you know, adheres to this structure and does this and this and this. He was like, there is a certain image that I have in my head, and I want to retain the power of that image as an image because that haunts me. And I, you know, I might not even know what it means, but it stays with me. But
he's also using that to construct something, right?
And my point that I am making is that this movie stayed with me. Like, I saw this last night and it has kept me up. Like, I am actually like physically affected by this movie. And I, you know, even if I can't quite articulate at this point, the entirety of an understanding of how the film is operating, you know, trying to make sense of it all, it is seeped its way into my psyche. And I tell you now, it's going to stay there because of all the films that we've seen this year, this is the one that I feel like has like burrowed itself into me in some way.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, I came home and I talked about it with my wife, and I showed my son the trailer because I was like, you're not going to watch this movie, but I think it's, you know, like I wanted him just to see the kind of like the vibe of the whole thing. And it is borrowed its way. It's not my favorite movie of the year or anything like that. But like this affected me on such a level.
You know what's interesting? Maybe
as Irreversible did, as Climax did, as
Sure.
Michael Haneke's films do, and that is that undoing of things, and it jars you into a place.
I think this is a really, really great film. I think, but this is the interesting thing. This would not be my best film of the year, but it might be the film I respect the most this year. Because I to be perfectly honest, I don't even know if I like it.
Yeah,
but I respect what was done, even if at the end of it, I'm like, this does not work for me. Like there's something there, and that's what leads me to believe that I'm missing something, because I have a sense that I should like it. And because you know me, and I'm big on endings, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
ambiguity in endings.
Yeah. Well, not even like this, I think even goes beyond my regular ambiguity. Like, what's the thing? Like, there's no mystery here at the end. That normally is what pisses me off. It's just, I wanted this to stick the landing. It made me believe it would, and then it didn't for me.
I think it was just,
but I respect the hell out of this movie.
With due respect, I think it was on a different runway than what you might be in, and I'm not even sure what that runway is.
And I think that's my problem. I think there should be, no matter what the runway is, the runway should be clear. And but you can't land the plane.
And this is the distinction between what I was talking about with why I'm a little soft on One Battle After Another, is that the runway's perfectly clear in that movie, right? Like it is 100% clear, and I really like that movie.
I think there should be a balance of these things. And if that's one end, this is the other, and they don't fully work.
And for me, this is one where I'm like, I need to do some thinking. Not even I need to do some thinking. I'm not even thinking about it as work. I'm saying this film has burrowed its way into my psyche in a way that most movies can never do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that is true of what I think the greatest films I've ever watched do. Like Michael Haneke's film, The White Ribbon, is a film that has burrowed itself into my psyche, and it is a film that I think about in terms of trying to understand the rise of fascism. Gaspar Noé's Irreversible and Climax, those are films that like have burrowed their way into my psyche, and the other thing is that's why I love movies.
Sure.
And also what a gift it is for a film that bold and that brave in terms of like doing something that we don't expect. What a gift it is for like the Academy Awards to recognize it so that more people will go see it.
Sure.
And like Jacob Elordi was on stage this week saying, and he was like, he was asked a question about like, what you should go see. And he was like, go see Sirāt. Like, don't know anything about it. Like, make sure you have time to go have dinner afterwards. And I was like, I'm here for that. And again, I was shook, is what I'm saying with this movie. I was completely shook in a way that was profound. This movie has tightly wound all the anxiety I have about being a parent, about being a human being, about the fear I have, and I'm not, I think it's beautiful. That's beautiful that it did that. I'm not mad at that it did that. I think it's a kind of a wonderful thing that movies can do.
Sure. I agree with everything you said. And my only yes and or no but is I just thought that it would tie it all together in a way that was I don't even need it to be narratively satisfying, just satisfying.
Right.
And it didn't for me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Again, you should all go see this movie. Again, to Shahir's point, the fact that it's nominated for an Academy Award will get more people to go see this movie, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So this has been the only podcast about the film Sirāt. Shahir, when you are not reinvigorating, when you're not having a midlife crisis and reintroducing rave culture into your life, where can folks find you?
You can find me with glow sticks at my website, suvanova.com. That's SUVANOVA. Of course, I would be the dumbest person at the rave because you don't need glow sticks during the day. Matt, when you are figuring out which train to catch and which direction to go, where can people find you?
You can find me and my train dreams. Another great movie.
Another great movie.
Over at my website, Extra History and Extra Credits. By the time this comes out, what's going to be coming out? Ooh, our Extra History Complete on Cleopatra will be there. And we just released our Comedy in Games 2.0. We look at the Extra Credits site where we look at how games interact with comedy as a medium 10 years later. The last time Extra Credits did an episode on that, it was 10 years ago. And it was written by Jenna Stieber, which we need to get on the podcast at some point. She is a phenomenal video essayist, and I need to figure out what her cinematic proclivities are.
Yeah.
Because I think the only other time, trying to think, no, I've just talked to her about Zelda. I don't know. Anyway,
there's a Zelda movie coming, isn't there?
Maybe I'll get her on for Zelda.
Is it a Zelda movie or a Zelda TV show?
It's a Sony produced Zelda movie that's going to air on Netflix. So it's every company touching it, including Nintendo.
Right.
We'll see how it goes.
Did you did you see the Masters of the Universe teaser?
The trailer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, looks
I didn't
fine.
I didn't watch it, but the thought process that went through my head when I started reading about what the film was male Barbie?
Kind of. Yeah. And listen, I'll say this, for all of the Jared Leto's in it, I'm hoping that all of the Alison Brie as Evil Lynn will counterbalance that. All of the awesomeness of her will counterbalance whatever shit show Jared Leto is. At least Skeletor looks like Skeletor in the movie, and I appreciate it.
Oh man, you can't go past Frank Langella.
No, I mean you can't. Like, and you know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping this movie is very mid.
Yeah.
And that reinvigorates people going back and having a fonder appreciation for the Frank Langella master.
We did an episode, I think it was like 200 or something like that, called Desert Island Movies, where we talked about favorite movies from the past. And it happens to be that Matt and I both watched Masters of the Universe repeatedly on VHS in our younger days. And the revisit of that film, despite the fact, by the way, which we did note at the time, that there is some serious accusations.
Oh yeah, director sucks.
Yeah, of sexual abuse in that around that film. Around that director.
The director, not the film, but the guy's a piece of shit.
But at any rate, Frank Langella, who also I think was problematic in some ways, gives a kind of masterful performance as Skeletor. Like, in a way,
he's in a completely different movie.
In a completely he was like, Skeletor? You mean Shakespeare's Skeletor?
Yeah, it's a real Midsummer's Night Dream at Snake Mountain kind of vibe. There is pathos.
There's monologues.
He talks to himself under his breath. Like he's an evil mastermind, but also like he's super insecure. Like
he's Hamlet. He's Hamlet.
It's so fucking good.
Or Henry V. I don't know what.
And then you just have Dolph Lundgren, who's doing a fine. He may just be like, like this. I
still love Gwildor and Man-at-Arms eating chicken for the first time.
I wonder why they put the food on these little white sticks. Those are rib bones. It tasted good. Anyway, go watch that movie. Next week, you will hear Shahir is going to be away. So Jamie and I are going to get our love affair on and review for you Wuthering Heights. Yeah. We're going to see it on Valentine's Day.
I told you to read the book between now and then, right? Like you got your assignment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I have a So You Haven't Read episode on this. I don't need to do shit. But yeah, no, I'm very excited about it. We're going to see the reviews are interesting. So we're going to find out. People seem to have a real bone to pick with Emerald Fennel for some reason, and I don't know if it's all entirely fair.
You know what's funny is like, I feel like because we've done both Saltburn and Promising Young Woman on this podcast, and it is like more of the devil's in the details kind of thing with her filmmaking. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited to see that film. I'm also excited to go back and watch Andrea Arnold's version that came out a few years ago as well. So. There's so many versions of Wuthering Heights.
Well, there you go. Well, until next week, we'll talk to you then next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.